Alright, so today I wanted to talk about my favorite cooking method, which is boiling. And yeah, I think that it's the best thing. Like it is like the OG method of cooking. In where the cavemen used it. Like it was the best way. First of all, because like it had the most potential to like give you nutrients. Because if you roast things on fire, you may lose some fat. It will drip. Okay. Well, if you boil them, you will get everything in the water. You can drink that afterwards. There was maybe like even a quote that said like to be strong, like to be a strong soldier, you have to like you have to eat the meat and like drink the juices of or something like just like very important. Like that was very useful in the past days because there was not a lot of food, they were starving. So by boiling, you were able to basically get all the nutrients out of something. Okay, so this is like first of all like, very useful. So there is maybe only one thing that will go against the boiling. I will get to that later. So first of all, I wanted to say that boiling, any cooking method, like even if you think about you know oven, fire, barbecue, um, frying, deep frying, anything you can think of, it is like a heat interface, which means basically that like a heat interface is something that is between the food and the heat source. The heat source can be anything from a fire, an oven resistance, and anything that produces heat, like fucking molten plutonium, anything. Okay, and the food is that sorry, and from that heat source to the food there is a heat interface, and that can be water if you're like boiling, or if you just put a little bit of water, so you can like have a more um, widespread, like well distributed surface like area, so like you get the heat to the food more evenly. Especially with frying, this is like much better. If you fry things, it will be like I think it is like the best heat interface for the food because yeah, it's very like it gets into everywhere. And the problem with water is that you can use it as a heat interface like it was like you were frying. The only problem, okay, is that at 100 degrees it boils, so it will not act as a good interface as fat. So yeah, water is basically like acts as a medium between the food and the heat source, so that when you heat because what may happen when you are not using a heat interface is that you maybe have the pan, and then you have maybe the food. Okay, okay, that's fine, but let's use this as a heat source. Okay, you have this. What may happen is that these areas, like these side areas, there is a void under it, so the heat is not gonna go very well into that. And that's the main problem. Fuck, I forgot the microphone. Oh. Okay, should you hear me better now? All right. So yeah, that is like the problem. You will have a very bad heat. Like the heat will not be spread evenly. Okay, that's the thing. So frying. So frying on the other hand is like water, but a bit hotter. Why is it hotter? Because as you know, like water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, then it becomes steam. Okay, and that is like so like whatever you're cooking on water will not get hotter than 100 degrees, and that's the good thing. If you're like trying to cook and you're new and maybe you are afraid of burning things, if you're burning you'll probably never burn anything. That's because like you cannot get hotter than 100 degrees unless you're using one of those like pressure cooking pots where you're like a pressure cooker, maybe it's called, which is basically like when you pressurize an environment, so maybe like water, it will have a boiling temperature point much higher. The same way, like if you see those videos, like if you put water in a vacuum, it will evaporate because like if there is like a vacuum, so low pressure, the cooking temperature will decrease. Well, if you pressurize water, for it to boil, you will need a lot of heat, like much more than 100 degrees Celsius. If you use Fahrenheit, you're a psychopath. I don't know how you fucking use Fahrenheit. It's so fucking hard. Um, So yeah, it will not get hotter in like normal conditions than 100 degrees Celsius, and that's bad news. That's bad news because guess what doesn't happen at 100 degrees? The Maillard reaction. And Maillard reaction is in fact occurs. It in fact occurs at 140, I think so, and that is like very bad news. It means that if you're boiling, you will never get the browning. Okay, the Maillard reaction, if, for you who doesn't know, is the browning reaction. The the golden crust on the food. That doesn't happen. And well, like wait. Okay, well, if you like take fat will get much hotter than 100 degrees. Okay, before it starts to boil, and that's great. Why? Because you will be able to reach those temperatures and make the Maillard reaction happen. Even if you're like either if you're cooking meat or a carbohydrate or anything, it will get brown, and that's great. So like even in grilling, if you're like you're doing a barbecue, you may think there is like no heat interface because you may think that the iron is the heat interface. Actually not. The iron is the heat source. In fact, like if you think about it, when you get like a grilled meat, it has like black charred lines under it because the heat source is not actually the fire, but the metal. Okay, the metal is the hottest thing there. This like goes into a whole different argument topic about fucking how heat distributes itself through radiation and all the other methods of fucking science. I don't know. And so this is one thing, but actually what is like happening, like the actual heat interface is not the steel, because the steel is the heat source. Okay, the actual interface is fat, because the fuel, like the little fat that is going to like drip from the meat is gonna be like the heat interface. Okay, there is like it's like the main thing. Yes, it can also stick directly to the metal grill, but it is mostly fat that is like dripping from the meat and is acting as a heat interface. So that is like what is happening when you have a barbecue. So yeah, that is like why like the browning is very good. Okay, it enhances the sweetness by caramelization and the umami by other processes that basically like enhance the flavor of umami. The umami is like one of those 5 pillars I always talk about, which is umami, salt, fat, acid, and sweet. Okay, by like having the Maillard reaction, you basically like pre-digest some of those food, so you get more sweet taste by breaking apart, like by caramelizing the sugars, and a more umami taste. And that's great. That is like why the secret of all the recipes you see. I don't think I can pop this up. Actually, I can show you. There is this site I was looking at. It had a recipe. Look, every fucking recipe has this shit. Sear beef, it says. Sear beef, add broth. It's crazy. Sear beef and add broth. Yeah, and that is the secret. If you like, okay, if you like add the umami content with the searing, which is the browning, okay. If you brown before and then boil, you're gonna get the best out of both worlds. And why do I say the best out of both worlds? Because I said that frying is useful because you can brown things. Why is like boiling so good then? I don't understand. You may be still wondering why is boiling so. It's like I consider boiling the goat of like the cooking methods, and this for one simple reason: the texture. The texture component is amazing with boiling. You can like take any meat, almost any meat. I think any, yeah, and you can like boil it slowly, bro. It will come out as a fucking heavenly piece of meat that is very soft. The only thing it doesn't have usually, if you don't sear it, is the browning. But if you like, if you brown it beforehand, okay, and then let it boil, you still get the umami enhancement and the sweetness from the searing, and then you have the best cooking method, which I consider to be the boiling, that takes all the nutrients and let you have them all. Plus, it makes the meat very soft and tender. Like water is a very good and well spread heat interface, because it doesn't get hotter than 100 degrees, and you can like have a lot of it. Like it's the same thing. Boiling like in a big pot is the same thing as deep frying. The only difference is that first of all you don't add fat to the food, which is not a bad thing. And plus, with water, you don't get hotter than 100 degrees, and that is very useful if you're trying to cook something slowly. Okay, that's the best thing of water. So yeah, that is like the reason like all the recipes like are telling you to like sear the meat and then like add anything else, because you will like have the much more umami and sweetness. So that is like the main thing about the these two cooking methods. There are like obviously there is also microwaving, which is like kind of a strange thing. It doesn't have a heat interface. Like the food is the interface itself, because the heat source comes from the food. Like the microwave works by basically passing these waves on the food, okay, through the food, and the water particles in this food will like move very quickly, and that will generate a heat. So like the heat comes directly, like the heat interface, the food and the heat source are all the food itself. It's crazy. So yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah, okay. Like if you like fry something and it is soft, you don't even need to boil it afterwards. Okay, if you're talking about some, there's like the same reason most meats you don't like boil them after frying them. When I say frying them, I mean like searing them and cooking them like a medium rare steak. It is already soft itself. You don't need to like boil it for 1 hour to like get the softness out. So like if you fry that and it's still soft, that's great. If you want like have it softer, boil that. By the way, you can do this also in reverse. Think about like potato chips, like fried French fries. You boil you boil the potatoes and then you fry them. That is like the opposite. Like I said, like sear and then boil, but you can also boil and then sear. And yeah, that's what potato chips are made out of. You boil the potato, you make it soft, and then you can like add the browning. Okay, yeah, and as you can see, like these two, like this frying and boiling, are really like great combination to have around if you're like wanting to make something really really like deluxe, okay, something really premium. And that's the thing about these two cooking methods. And yeah, like as you can see, like cooking can be broken down in like these components. Like before, I was really I didn't understand anything about cooking. I was really like, bro, what the fuck is this? Was actually overwhelming. I was looking at these recipes, like when my mom made recipes, and she was like, can you read me the recipe? Can you help me with the recipe? And I saw these things like sear, then do this, and then add this thing to give it this flavor. Bro, like I was, why is it a thing? Okay, it is much better, in my opinion, to learn why you do these things, so you can like use them over your cooking like journey. Okay, so yeah, once you understand those like concepts, like the one I just explained to you about the sear, like brown first and then boil, while you do that, you will have like a much bigger knowledge, and you will be able like to pass it on to other recipes. Like you probably, if you learn everything there is, you probably never need a recipe. For example, yesterday I did actually, like I went to a kind of a restaurant bar, like a very cheap construction worker kind of restaurant, and we had I don't know like the name in English. It's this like piece of meat which has a bone with a hole in it. Okay, and they did that in a, like I think it was like an Italian or Tuscany recipe type, like typical recipe maybe, and it was really good. It was like this not like like steamed meat. It was like cooked in the juices of itself, and tomato. So like tomato is great because it adds like acidity, umami, sweetness. Okay, as everything. So if you basically cook, before I said you can cook things in water as a heat interface, but the truth is that you can cook anything in anything, like tomato sauce. Like if you're crazy, you can even cook meat in
fucking vinegar. It's strange, okay? It's not gonna be probably maybe too strong, okay? But you can do that. Yes, you can cook like meat in a jam, okay? You can do that. It's still a neat interface. It is still like fuck. It is still like a liquid. If you think about it, like tomato sauce, which is the thing they cook the meat in, like it is made 90% of water, and the remaining 10% of any other fucking micronutrient there is. But yeah, like you get the point. It is really powerful of a thing to be able to open your mind, like think out of the box and cook anything in a way you want. And I don't know how to translate it in English. The cooking method that it is called, it is like in Italian it is like in umido, which means in moist. Okay, it is like slowly cooked over. It is like a stew, but it is fuck no, stew is another thing. You know, fuck you. Just cook the meat over some tomato sauce, and it will absorb all the acidity, umami, and sweetness of the tomatoes, and that's like a really good cooking method. So yeah, like think out of the think out of the box, and you will be able to achieve these things. I tried to replicate it the other day. I didn't even look for the recipe, bro. Like you don't need the recipe for this stuff. Just stick some tomato sauce and cook meat in it. It was delicious. Okay, I added some dried tomatoes to add more umami because the tomato sauce was a bit bland. So just keep those things in mind, and once you understand the cooking like methods and shits, you will be able to like really improvise anything. By improvising, I mean like create really good recipes on the spot, and that is like one of those skills you will benefit a lot from. So yeah, that is like I think it's kind of everything.